Hello and welcome EBT fans, I am your host King05 and today I am bringing you my draft analysis for the EBT Season 4, which I am joining this season, and there's actually 3 divisions in this league. I'm in the top division, which is the Melemele. The other ones are the other islands in Alola, pretty sure, just leaving out Pony. But anyways, let's get into the team I decided to draft, alright? So going into this draft, a few things that I would like to address. The draft style, well, it's based on GBA tiers, like tier 1 through 5. However, there are subsections of each tier, like there's tier 1 and there's tier 1B, which if you draft it as your designated tier 1, you don't really get anything. But if you draft a tier 1B in your free picks, like with the 400 points that are available to you, it only costs 180 points instead of 160 instead of 180. Yeah. So you get an extra 20 points to work around with if you get a tier 1B instead of a tier 1 in your free picks, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So let's get into my draft and why I chose what I chose. So first round, I decided to go with Latios. Really great Pokemon, and as you can see, it's holding the Flyinium Z. This is one of my 3 designated Z move users, and Latios with the Z moves is just incredibly threatening. It's probably the best Z move user in the format, well, at least one of the best, and it has just amazing offense, 145 attack, very strong Earthquakes, has Intimidate, which, if you're running a bulky spread, means, I've done the math on this, you basically have base 150 defense, almost 160. So that's the wonder of Intimidate. So this thing is very versatile. The ice weakness is something to watch out for, obviously, but there are ways to play around that, scouting, and as well as no one can really switch in their ice type for free on Latios if they even have an ice type. And throwing on ice coverage means they're not going to have coverage for a lot of the other Pokemon on my team, so that's really nice. People kind of have to pick and choose with the style of my draft what they want to hit and what they want to get walled by, so that's kind of interesting. This thing gives me a nice, decent speed here in 91. Definitely going to force those base 100s to creep that if they want to be sure that they outspeed it, of course. And that means they're not going to be able to run Adamant or Modest on those base 100s, which is really nice for me. And yeah, so just a nice move pool. Earthquake, Z-Fly, Continental Crush are the main 2 Z moves. However, there's also other opportunities with Z moves. There's Z Superpower, for example, if I really need that fighting coverage. But yeah, it's all based on matchup, and Latios is incredibly versatile, and yeah, it's just really nice Pokemon. Moving on to my round 2 pick, which is Latios. This is probably one of the best dragon types in the format, in my opinion. I've never actually tried Kyurem Black, but I assume it's pretty good. But Latios is definitely up there, especially with a really nice speed tier, really nice bulk for an offensive Pokemon, as well as just hitting extremely hard with the base 130 Dracos and just stab Psychic. Psychic is a really good offensive typing, and yeah, Dragon Psychic is a really unique defensive typing and offensive typing. It's basically only the Latios that get this, so it's a really nice combination, gives it a huge amount of resists, and it just serves as a really nice special pivot. So it can switch in, tank a hit, and fire off a huge hit back. Gives me a defogger, which was very important for my next few picks. You probably already see it there, but having really reliable hazard removal was very important for my draft. So getting Latios as my dragon is probably the best thing I could have gotten. It's a really reliable defogger if I want it to be. So yeah, really nice. And it gets amazing coverage. It gets Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. Ice Beam not too useful unless you're facing a 4 times weak Pokemon that resists Dragon, which I don't think there is very much. But regardless, it gets Volt Beam coverage, it gets Energy Ball, it gets Surf, a huge amount of coverage. And yeah, Psy Shock and Psychic means I can hit whatever defensive side I want to, whichever one is better to the matchup, so that's really nice as well. Just really solid Pokemon, definitely one of my favorites in Draft League format. So next up is Ferrothorn. Now, this is starting to get into the thing where, well, do you want to be walled by Ferrothorn or do you want to be walled by Land of T in the ice versus fire on their hidden powers? So Ferrothorn is an amazing defensive Pokemon. The Grass Steel typing is really nice as it fulfills my Fire Water Grass, which I almost always draft. I'm pretty sure I've drafted every single draft I've had. And it also contributes to my Dragon Fairy Steel, and Ferrothorn is a very good Grass type and a very good Steel type. Its only downfall is that it's 4 times weak to fire, but that can obviously be mitigated by an Aqua Berry. Ferrothorn is really good at using the 2 berries that it can use, Chople and Aqua, to make it more effective switch-ins to really powerful offensive threats like Kyurem Black, Mega Gardevoir. Fun fact, Mega Gardevoir actually cannot 2-hit KO Specially Defensive Aqua Berry Ferrothorn even if they predict on the switch-in with Hidden Power Fire. So that's pretty cool. It's just incredibly fat, and it gives me spikes. Spikes are amazing. Hazards in general are just really good. This gives me rocks and spikes and an amazing defensive Pokemon. It gives me a really sturdy, really sturdy Dragon Resist, and that's really nice. And people can't just run Dragon Fire versus my team, as you're going to see in a few picks. I do also have Primarina, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And yeah, so Ferrothorn, just really nice. Gyro Ball and Power Whip means that it has enough coverage where it's not going to be set up fodder versus too many Pokemon. A few notable exceptions are like defensive Zygarde, but Zygarde can't really switch in on Ferrothorn, fearing a Leech Seed or a Toxic, something like that. So yeah, just kind of really nice Pokemon in general, and I'm really happy that I was able to grab it. I thought it's definitely worth the round 3 pick. But yeah, moving on to the next Pokemon, which is one of my favorite Pokemon in the format, and that is Volcarona, which is going to be my 3rd Z-move user. I don't know if I mentioned, but Latios is my 2nd Z-move user, but Volcarona is rounding up with the 3rd. This Pokemon, if you watched my most recent video, which is the MLBA montage, this thing put in the work. It was one of my Z-move users there, and it's going to be one of my Z-move users here. Now, Volcarona is 4 times weak to rock, which once again plays into the, well, do you want to be walled by Land of T, do you want to be walled by Ferrothorn, or do you want to be unable to touch Volcarona with your hidden power? So that's a really nice thing. I kind of like 4 times weaknesses in that regard, as you really, the typings are really good most of the time with the 4 times weakness, where that's their only thing that's really holding them back. Volcarona is definitely one of those Pokemon. Bug Fire is an incredible defensive typing apart from Rock. So if I run a Charty Berry or something like that, or my opponent is forced to bring Hidden Power Fire or Ice to deal with my other Pokemon, then Volcarona just becomes that much more threatening. So yeah, 100 speed is really nice for a setup sweeper, 135 special attack, super strong, and with 85 HP, 65 defense, and 105 special defense, when invested, it can be super fat and just wall entire rosters, and basically make the entire roster setup fodder. So yeah, really nice Pokemon. With Z-moves, it can definitely go offensive. I know I've definitely used a lot of Z-moves on this thing. I've used Bloom Doom, Firerium, Inferno Overdrive, I've used the Savage Spin Out, I've used a lot of things on this. Supersonic Sky Strike is another option. Shattered Psyche, just it gets coverage for pretty much anything. And yeah, so just a really nice, strong Pokemon that can also be really fat, and yeah, one of my favorites. Next up is going to be my Primarina. Now, this is really nice Pokemon. Its special defense and its typing makes it an extremely good check to a lot of special attackers such as Mega Blastoise, just off the top of my head. Mega Blastoise cannot do a thing to Primarina, and Primarina has this wonderful 126 special attack and it's going to be firing off a really strong hit in return. So that's really nice. Very hard to switch into Primarina. With the Water Fairy and Psychic coverage that it gets also gets Energy Ball. But Energy Ball and Psychic are more coverage, whereas Water Fairy is the nice wall-breaking stab, very strong with the choice specs. Torrent is something a lot of people forget about, but if you're low health, like Primarina doesn't have the greatest physical defense, but it can usually take at least one hit, and if that one hit brings me down to about 20%, something is going to drop to a Torrent Hydro Pump, and that is really nice. This thing is one of the strongest fairy types in the game, at least in the formats, and it really is great at wall breaking as well as checking many offensive threats with its amazing defensive and offensive typing. And yeah, this is going to be my fairy type, nice dragon immunity, and it's really hard to kind of hit Primarina super effectively with a hidden power because the special defense stat means hidden power is going to do like 25%, maybe 30% if I'm Assault Vest, for example, or just specially defense with leftovers. It's going to be doing no damage at all. So yeah, really nice Pokemon. It's also like a great check or switch into Hydreigon, as that really can't do anything, and Hydreigon is really threatening, so having a really nice check to that thing is amazing. So next up is my Hitmontop. Now I didn't want to leave this out for too long, as I know Hitmontop is usually a pretty high priority on a lot of drafts, so I did get it pretty early, not too early though, but around, what is this, 6? Yeah, around 6. So Hitmontop provides me with really reliable Rapid Spin, as I do like having both Rapid Spin and Defog. Just in case my opponent has a Ghost type, I can always Defog, whereas if they don't have a Ghost type, I don't need to get rid of my own hazards with Defog, I can just run Rapid Spin. So that's really nice. Hitmontop is incredibly bulky, has a pretty garbage HP stat, to be honest, same as Rotom though, and Rotom can definitely be pretty fat as well, but it has base 95 defense with Intimidate, which means you already know from Lando T, and Lando T is less defensive than Hitmontop. This thing can definitely have an effective defense stat of over 160, so that's really nice. 110 special defense is something a lot of people forget. This thing is really specially bulky as well as a 70 speed tier, means it's pretty fast for a defensive Pokemon. You can definitely go offensive with 95 attack. I know in the TBU, who was it that used offensive Hitmontop with Darkinium Z Sucker Punch to snipe a switch in, or something like that. That was really cool to see. But yeah, Hitmontop, nice defensive utility option, as well as just a nice fighting type. And yeah, moving on to the next Pokemon, I decided to go with Jolteon. Give me a nice speed tier in 130. It is very specially defensive, to be honest. I know in the MLBA, the person who drafted Jolteon, I think it was Navy, he was using it defensive more often than not, and it was actually putting in a lot of work. So you might see that in this season of the EBT, not sure about that. I wasn't too big of a fan of the set in general, although it did do work, so who am I to say that it's bad? If the matchup demands it, I may as well. But yeah, 65 HP, 60 defense is quite poor, but the special attack and speed and special defense are the main traits that you're looking for Jolteon. The fast electric type gives me an electric immunity that isn't 4 times weak to hidden power ice like Lando T, as I don't really want to be using Lando T as my electric check if I can help it, and I definitely can with Jolteon with the Volt Absorb, which is really nice for opposing electrics and such. But yeah, 130 speed is pretty much the fastest thing outside of Mega Lopunny that is relevant. I guess Mega Manectric, but that's not too relevant. Did someone draft that? I think someone did. But yeah, 130 is basically as fast as it's gonna get. 110 special attack is really good. I wouldn't say amazing, but it's really good. And this thing's move pool, while it is kind of shallow, it does rely on hidden power for a lot of its coverage. it also has pretty nice moves like Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, so Signal Beam means a potential like Celebi, for example, can't just switch in mindlessly, has to fear that. And yeah, pretty nice Pokemon, really nice, solid, fast electric type. I don't think I've ever drafted a fast electric type. Well, I drafted Zubstrika, but that doesn't really count because that's a Trashmon. But yeah, I definitely would like to explore a little bit more with fast electric types, especially higher tier ones. Like, I know Thundurus was really fun. That's not the fastest thing, but Thundy was really fun in the TMT. That's still going on at this point, but we're having a lot of fun with that on my team. And yeah, Jolteon is a nice mid-tier electric, and yeah, just solid Pokemon in general. Next up, I had to get some Wish Passing, because as you can see, Ferrothorn, Primarina, Hitmontop, these are really nice defensive Pokemon, but they don't have recovery. Same with Latios. And I got, in my opinion, one of the best Wish Passers, especially in Tier 5, in Licky. This thing has base 110 HP, which is one of its biggest traits along with Wish. And this means that it can Wish Pass huge wishes out to Ferrothorn, Primarina, Hitmontop, all of which have really low base HP, so a Wish from Licky is going to heal up those by at least 70%, maybe more. Well, maybe not 70%, but at least 65. And it's just a really nice Pokemon. It can wall entire rosters all on its own, and it's just really nice. Its ability, Oblivious, means it can't be taunted, which is huge for a defensive Pokemon such as this. And since it is a normal type, it gets a huge amount of coverage, which means it's not really setup fodder versus anything as long as I pack the correct coverage move. Like, I can give an example, it's like Zygarde. Zygarde could potentially set up on Licky, but this thing gets Ice Beam, so if I just throw that on there, it's not setup fodder, so there you go. Really nice, solid mixed defensive stats. 50 speed is alright, nothing to write home about, but 85 attack, 80 special attack is decent for a wall, and Wish is basically the main reason I got this. And it's just a really solid defensive Pokemon that can help keep my other defensive mons healthy. So yeah. So looking at my draft now, I noticed a pretty big weakness, and that was really strong Psychic types. The combination of Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Focus Blast just obliterated my entire team, or even like Psyshock, I guess, because Primarina can take a Psychic pretty well. But Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Focus Blast hits my entire team and just like destroys them. So I knew I needed a Dark type, and that Dark type could not be weak to fighting. I was thinking of getting a Alolan Muck, but that was long gone by the time I had to make this pick. So I decided to go with Stunting. Now this is a Pokemon that is quite interesting, has pretty high HP stat, mediocre defenses, but a really nice attack stat and pretty decent speed, as well as pretty nice abilities in Aftermath. And does it get anything useful? No, just Aftermath, but Aftermath is pretty useful. This thing can definitely just toss on an Assault Vest with some special defense investment and just Pursuit Trap those Psychic types that can really threaten my entire team. And yeah, Poison Dark, this gives me a Toxic Spike Absorber if I do need that for a certain matchup, as well as just the Pursuit, as well as Crunch, Poison Jab, nice stab. And another thing that makes Stunting good is that it has access to Defog, which, once again, I'm really big on getting a lot of hazard removal. I didn't have very much hazard removal in the SSL, and while I was prepping I was really regretting that. So I definitely made sure to get plenty of hazard removal in this draft. But yeah, just a really nice, solid Pokemon. It was only a tier 5, I believe, so yeah, definitely picking this up for 40 points was a bargain. Especially the utility that it offers my team, beating those Psychic types. But anyways, moving on to my next pick, I decided to go with Cloister. Cloister's pretty interesting in the fact that it has an enormous defense stat. However, it's more well known for its Shell Smashing and Sweeping capabilities. So that's kind of interesting. I definitely would like to be able to run defensive Cloister at least one time this season, as I think that's one of the coolest sets. But yeah, its special defense is pretty awful. Nothing you can really do to service that, to be honest. But its physical defense more than makes up for it, as it can set up on a lot of physical attackers even if they have super effective coverage. Cloister doesn't really care. And 95 attack when you invest, and since it's Shell Smash and it boosts your speed by +2 instead of just +1, you can sometimes afford to go Adamant, or I guess Modest. This thing's special attack is usable, and it does have a few usable special moves, but mainly the physical attacking variant is going to be more common. Adamant nature is pretty strong, to be honest. And if I have something like White Herb, I don't get the defense drops from Shell Smash, although I think White Herb is a little bit overrated on Shell Smashers. But yeah, something like Razor Claw, or something like, if I want to be that guy, it's basically a Jirachi. Like, it flinches everything. Although, in the SSL I had Jirachi, and I don't think it got a single flinch, despite trying multiple times. But yeah, Cloister is a really nice setup sweeper that goes along with Volcarona, and I guess Lando T as well. But the main setup sweepers that my opponent's going to have to watch out for are Volcarona and Cloister. Both of these require completely different counters, so that's going to be nice to pressure my opponents into bringing a lot of different defensive checks to these things, and maybe opening them up for one of my other threats like Lando or Primarina, something like that. I always like drafting 2 water types, just in case, well, either 2 water types or one incredibly sturdy one, like Vaporeon for example, or Alomomola. And generally, I like a fat water type plus an offensive water type. In this draft I have 2 like pseudo-defensive, pseudo-offensive, well, not pseudo-offensive, both of these are very offensive, but Primarina and Cloister. Primarina has that wonderful special bulk, and Cloister has the amazing physical bulk. So between the two, I can always get a nice matchup, I guess, with this physical versus special attacker. And yeah, Water Ice is really, really good stab. Like, it only is walled by water types, and while most teams have pretty sturdy water types, you can always muscle past those with Rock Blast or something like that if they're weakened, and Shell Smash is really nice. Really nice potent sweeper. Also gives me Toxic Spikes if I want to go that route, so that's really nice. It also gives me another Spiker and Rapid Spinner, as well as just Icicle Spear is really good because it breaks Yachi berries, it breaks sashes, so it's really hard to just slap on a berry and just, oh, there's my check to Cloister, because it's not a check to Cloister. Skill Link is nice because 5 hits and whatnot, but yeah, that's going to be all for this Pokemon. And my last pick is going to be my Mega. Prior to this, everyone else already picked their Megas, so I had the luxury of waiting till last round to pick up Mega Pidgeot. Now, I used this in JBA Season 3. That was a short season. I think it was only 6 weeks, and I definitely really enjoyed using Mega Pidgeot, so I'm here to try it again with a longer season, and I think a better team, honestly. My Season 3 draft for the JBA was really fun to use, but I don't think it was the best by any means. And Mega Pidgeot making a repeat appearance on the Oakland Rosa Raiders is really nice for this team in particular. It fills a really nice speed tier in between Latios and Jolteon, so that's really nice. 121 speed is amazing. 135 special attack is basically the same as Volcarona, but it's basically amazing, especially with Hurricane that does not miss. This is my favorite thing about Mega Pidgeot. You can go for Hurricane and it's never gonna miss. Hurricane is such an amazing spammable typing. Flying in general is just really nice to spam. And speaking of flying spam, I can potentially run a Z-Fly Lando plus Hurricane Pidgeot, which can definitely break down each other's counters, although Z-Move Lando doesn't really have counters. Lando can definitely take down the Rock and Steel types that would wall Pidgeot. Well, not Steel types because Heat Wave, but Rock types definitely. And if you look at it, rock types are not really a threat to the vast majority of my team. It's only really Volcarona and Pidgeot that I really have to worry about rock types. And so, since the rest of my team covers it so well, that's really nice. This thing gets U-turn for momentum, it gets a defog, it's another defogger, so I'm basically never going to be having a team with 0 hazard removal options. There's always going to be something I can throw on, but yeah, it's really nice. Emergency defogger, like, this thing's move pool is pretty shallow, not gonna lie. Hurricane, Heat Wave are basically the only viable moves on this thing apart from Hidden Power to hit resists. But yeah, if this thing got Boom Burst, oh boy, it would be banned. But unfortunately it does not. So usually the moveset's going to be Hurricane, Heat Wave, U-turn / Roost / Defog / Hidden Power / a lot of slashes. But this thing, really nice Pokemon. I'm just gonna look through the moveset. It has Toxic, which can nail the rock type switch-ins, as well as Feather Dance is really cool tech, as it means that with its 80, 83, and 80 defenses, it can actually serve as a physical wall of sorts, because with Feather Dance, you basically put your opponent at -2 attack, and since you're so fast with 121 speed, you're most likely going to outspeed it, and so that means you're taking half the damage, which means this can definitely be a nice bulky Pokemon with Roost, Defog, Hurricane, and Feather Dance. Really nice to soften up those physical hits. I've never run that before, but I'm definitely open to trying it. But yeah, just nice Pokemon that I wanted to use again. Gives me a nice normal type along with Licky, so spamming Shadow Ball, for example, is not an option versus my team. I mean, I guess it's always an option, but like, it's not a good option, as I've seen a lot of drafts with no Ghost Resist, so that was definitely fun, especially because I've had Gengar in a few of those. But yeah, really nice draft. I really like this draft, not to the extent that I really like my JVA Season 4 draft. I think that one's the most fun draft I've ever had, but I really like this one as well, and I'm definitely interested to see if I can put in the work with this team, potentially win it all, you know? But yeah, that's gonna be all for me. See you guys in the next video.